Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kokodash, which are the true Hebrew names of the Most High Father, Yahweh, which is Hebrew for He is, and His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, which is Hebrew for He is salvation, He delivers. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, with the house of David reborn again in this generation. And shalom to the one-third of Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, I'm going to get into one of the parables of the Messiah. Okay, I've made a couple of videos, and I just haven't finished all of the parables, which is something I wanted to do for a long time. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, but I'm getting to it now. So we're going to go ahead and continue the series, and we're going to talk about the parable of 10 pounds. Now, if you're familiar with the parable of the 10 talents, it's pretty much the same parable, except there's a slight difference, where in the parable, the master that's in the parable gives on to his servants a different number of talents, and those servants then are judged upon how many talents they return to the master. The parable of the 10 pounds, the nobleman, which is the same thing, the same as the master, it's the analogy for the Messiah, Yahweh Shai. The nobleman gives on to his 10 servants 10 pounds. So basically, they all got the same. And again, they were judged upon what they returned as far as for the Lord's investment. Now, let's go ahead and read through this parable, and then I'm going to go ahead and break it down, and we're going to go through some precepts as I break it down. So, this parable can be found in Luke 19 and 12. And he said, "Therefore, a certain nobleman went into a far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return. And he called his 10 servants and delivered them 10 pounds, and said unto them, Occupy till I come. But his citizens hated him, and sent a message after him, saying, We will not have this man to reign over us. And it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, then he commanded these servants to be called unto him, to whom he had given the money, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading. Then came the first, saying, Lord, thy pound hath gained 10 pounds. And he said unto him, Well, thou good servant, because thou hast been faithful in very little, have thou authority over 10 cities. And the second came, saying, Lord, thy pound hath gained 5 pounds. And he said likewise to him, Be thou also over 5 cities. And another came, saying, Lord, behold, here is thy pound, which I have kept laid up in a napkin. For I feared thee, because thou art an austere man. Thou takest up that thou layest not down, and reapest that thou didst not sow. And he saith unto him, Out of thine own mouth will I judge thee, thou wicked servant. Thou knowest that I was an austere man, taking up that I laid not down, and reaping that I did not sow. Therefore, then gavest not thou my money into the bank, that at my coming I might have required mine own usury? And he said unto them that stood by, Take from him the pound, and give it to him that hath 10 pounds. And they said unto him, Lord, he hath 10 pounds. For I say unto you, that unto every one which hath shall be given, and from him that hath not, even that he hath shall be taken away from him. But those mine enemies which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. Now, there's the parable. And like I said, it's very similar to the parable of the 10 talents. Okay? So, let's go ahead and break this down. So in the beginning, the Messiah says that he refers to a nobleman who is leaving to a far off country to receive a kingdom. Now, what is this talking about? Well, this is talking about the great journey that the Messiah had to make to become the anointed, right? To be the one that would fulfill prophecy of being the one that returns Israel onto the Father, okay, and doing that by his sacrifice. Now, in doing so, the Messiah was given the dominion over the world, all right, and for that part, the universe. And let's go and read about that. This can be read about in Daniel's 7 and 13. It says, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. So you see, the parable was ultimately talking about the Messiah receiving this kingdom. Now, those citizens within this kingdom that didn't want to serve him, this is ultimately talking about all the other nations. You see, the other nations right now are all drunk upon Babylonian wine, right? The philosophies of the Edomite. When I say the Edomite, I'm talking about the so-called Caucasian and Israeli races. They've molded the society to their own wicked morals and understandings. And in doing so, the whole world is upside down according to the way that the Lord originally set it up to be. Now, that being said, in the Lord coming into power, he's going to return to the world many of the laws and the dictates that are found in the Bible, right? The world and the whole universe is going to be run according to the word of the Lord. Okay, now a lot of people don't want that, especially these Edomites. They don't want to be under subjection. Okay, and at the end of this parable, right, it's that famous line that you're always hearing camps talk about. It says, "But those mine enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me." And that there ultimately is the Messiah explaining that what is in store for those people, namely the heathens of the world, the other 17 nations. But this also goes for the 2/3 of our people, right? The Israelites, who are just wicked and they're lost in these other doctrines, right? They are the enemies of God. And when the Lord comes back, he's going to destroy them. Okay? And that's spoken about here. Matthews 10 and 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I come not to send peace, but a sword. Okay? So that shows you how the Lord, when he comes back, he's going to do a lot of reorganizing. Okay? A lot of changing things around, and ultimately having to cleanse the defiled. Okay, and the defiled I'm talking about is all the other nations and the 2/3 of our people. Now, not everybody's going to die of the other nations. There's still going to be a lot of people, left alive, but there's going to be 1/3 of the world population that's going to ultimately perish, says the Bible. Okay, and what's going to eventually happen is, once everything gets straightened out, then the world is going to be a much better place, right? But to get to that, there has to be a lot of rearranging, okay? And with that comes a lot of punishment and a lot of basically death, okay? Now, on to the other parts of the the parable, right? Basically about the handing out of the pounds and also the receiving back the pounds. Now, the difference in the parable of the talents and the parable of the 10 pounds is that in the parable of talents, you had servants who had been given different number of talents. Okay, showing how in this truth, different Israelites are given different roles in this truth. Some you got camp leaders, some are apostles, some are artists, some are helpers, and whatnot, right? But in this case here, it's talking about an overall giving of a resource, okay? That in this case is being referred to as 10 pounds. Now, these 10 servants got each 10 pounds. And that right there pretty much just shows how when you come into this truth, doesn't matter if you're an apostle or even just an Israelite who's learning, we're all given the same information, right? Just like the parable of the working for the same penny, right? We're all working for the same wage. Doesn't matter how long you've been here. Those that come in at the end, they still get the same wages. Well, it's the same thing, right? We all get the same truth. Not somebody here is not going to get a different truth versus another brother. Now, that being said, with us being given this same narrative, right, the truth of the Bible, the gospel, it is our job to not sit on it, right? Because, we see this a lot, right? And we call these, the Hebrew keyboard warriors, right? They watch these lessons, they gather all this information, and they're, amazingly well versed in the scriptures, and they have all these things under their belt that they've managed to gather, that the Lord has given them. Because again, don't be mistaken. Though you may have learned this, on your own by finding videos, listening to them, and doing all that, it was the Lord's will that you were able to understand that and had the passion to actually pursue and find that knowledge. And hence the Lord provided you and gave you that wisdom. When you read the books of Wisdom of Solomon, it tells you very plainly that wisdom is a gift of the Lord. Now, that being said, those Israelites that have gathered all this information, they've watched all these lessons, they know all this truth, but they stay tight-lipped when it comes to sharing this truth with other people. Either they do it for reasons that they just don't want to share, they don't want to put themselves out there, or whatever it could be. The fact is that it is not our job to just learn this truth and not share it, right? You're supposed to learn this truth and basically pass it forward, okay? Nobody says you have to go out and be like this incredible evangelist. No, the Lord's going to put it on your spirit to do whatever He feels you're capable of. Be it you go out to the streets and you teach, you go out and you start a whole camp to yourself, or you go on boards and you post scriptures, or you rebuke false doctrine. Okay? By what you have taken in, you're going to be judged on what you've given out, right? And what does it tell us this? This is here, let's see, Matthew 5:15. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Right? Meaning that when you get this truth, you shouldn't be hiding it, right? And you shouldn't be keeping back when you should be teaching other people, right? Because for being lazy or just not wanting to put the time into it, remember, this truth was given unto you by brothers who have put in that labor. Now, you should do likewise and also pass this on to others who are coming into this truth and are, thirsty for that spiritual water, okay? You shouldn't, but again, if you're out there and you're gathering all this information, but you're doing nothing with it, then what the Lord said, right? What did He say? Let's go back. It says, it's verse 22, and He saith unto him, out of thine own mouth will I judge thee, thou wicked servant. thou knewest that I was an austere man, taking up that I laid not down, and reaping that I did not sow. Wherefore then givest not thou my money into the bank, that at my coming I might have required my own with usury? And he said unto them that stood by, Take from him the pound, and give it to him that hath 10 pounds. Right? So you see, it's going to behoove you to make something of this truth, right? Make something of the pounds that were given onto you. Because again, if you don't really make anything out of it, you're not spreading it, you're not sharing it with people, your family at least, then what's going to happen is the Lord eventually is going to bug you out, and he's going to take this truth away from you. And how is he going to do that? Well, he's going to bring some false doctrine that's going to lure you away, and it's going to drive you away from this truth. And that's because you are an unprofitable servant, right? As the scripture says here, right? A wicked servant. And what does the Bible ultimately say? Luke 12:48. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall much be required. And to whom men are committed much, of him they will ask the more. Right? But the point being that I want to make is right here. Right? So by learning all this truth, the Lord ultimately is not doing it just to see how much information he could, shove into that little wallet of yours, man. No, the Lord wants you to have this information to wake up our other fellow brethren who are out there thirsting for this, spiritual water, that want to know the truth, that have woken up, but like in the Bible, that one follower who only knew the testimony of John the Baptist, right? The apostles expanded onto him more of the scriptures, right? And same thing like us, right? When we come across other Akim who are in this truth and they don't really know the full story, it's our job to share with them what the true narrative is, and to tell them, no, that's not true. It's like this. This is what the apostles say. This is what the scriptures say, right? So there you go, Akim. Hopefully this video was edifying. Hopefully I was able to explain what this parable means. Till the next time, let's go and give all honor and glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Ruach HaKodesh. Shalom.